Joline, the founder of the Sustainability Project, or TSP for short. TSP is one of the pioneer local businesses that focuses on sustainability. So, hi Joline.
Hello. Okay, so basically TSP, which is the Sustainability Project, it was formed back in June 2017. So when it first started out, it was actually a blog. So it was just me trying to share my knowledge and tips on how to lead a sustainable lifestyle in Singapore. Because back then I think I didn't know of a lot of blogs that were doing so. And I thought it would be interesting to just share about my personal experience and sustainability. So subsequently, I decided to start the shop in 2018 January. Basically just to let people have an avenue to transform all their knowledge and education into actions. Because even if I were to write the blog and they were educated on doing so, there weren't a lot of avenues where people could make actions or buy zero waste lifestyle products. Yeah, so that's when the shop came about. So then we expanded into another area. So we have 3 areas: educate, which is the blog; transform, which is the shop; and inspire, which is everything else such as talks, workshops, trips, events. So that's the whole gist. We have 3 arms, and then we focus mainly on educating about sustainability and making it like a movement within Singapore. Yeah.
Your school experience influenced you to start TSP?
My school experience, so actually I study accounting. So it didn't really inspire in the sense, but during my own university timing, I was involved in the environmental club as well. So I knew people who were like-minded. We did events, we organized different initiatives as well. So that gave me some exposure. At the same time, I did internships that were related to sustainability. I did sustainability reporting. I did accounting in like a small startup that sold biodegradable and compostable party-wear. So all these I guess it added up after I saw it in the long run. It isn't exactly related to my degree, but I did stuff that I was interested in as in along the way. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for those starting out on their sustainable lifestyle journey?
Okay, so I guess I have 3 tips, but it might sound very duh, but actually it's very hard to carry out because I think you need a lot of discipline and effort to take it into action. So the first one I would say is actually thinking twice before you purchase anything. So it's very easy to say, but really when you're gonna buy something, it's really evaluating, is it a need or a want? Because I think sometimes when we purchase stuff, it's because it's pretty or cute or cheap, and that is when we fall into this consumerism mindset. So it's really evaluating whether is it a need or a want, whether you really need that product at that point of time in your life. And then subsequently, if you identify it's a need, you then can look at other alternatives such as second-hand options, because there's so many in Singapore right now. We have Carousel, we have for clothing Refresh and Salvation Army. There are a lot of avenues that actually you can purchase second-hand stuff. Yeah, so that's the first one. The second, I would say, it's saying no to disposables. So I think recently a lot of people are much more aware of the amount of disposables that Singaporeans use on a daily basis. And given that Semakau is only going to be, it only has a lifespan until 2035, I think this is one of the most pressing issues that everybody hasn't really woken up and realized yet. So it's just not using any disposables. There's this little action that you can do that actually helps a lot. So you bring your own essentials, depending on your lifestyle as well. If you're an avid coffee drinker, then you have to invest in a reusable coffee cup so that you use it every day. And you have to make sure that you commit yourself to use it as well. You don't just buy it and then think, okay, I will use it. But if you forget to bring it, then it kind of defeats the whole purpose as well. So just saying no to disposable, no lids, no straws and everything, I think it actually helps a lot. Yeah, and then the last one I would say it's to be a conscious consumer. So everything that we do actually, it sort of influence how the world is being structured. For example, you have the power to purchase from a certain company. Whether you purchase from the company or you choose the other, it really says a lot. Whether you are supporting an ethical company or you're supporting an unethical company. As consumers, I think that's the power that we have. So being aware of all these environmental issues, reading up on it, the fashion industry, so that you yourself can make informed choices and just know which one you want to choose. I think that actually helps a lot as well. Yeah, so those are the 3 tips, I think. Yeah.
Personally, have you faced any challenges in trying to become more eco-conscious?
Okay, so for myself, I have. So sometimes like people don't really understand why am I so like, they will say obsessed with saving the earth, or like why I do things in a certain way. For example, the packaging for TSP itself, it's only with used packaging. Like, so we collect old boxes and old envelopes from other people. And I think if you're doing it from a business point of view, you'll be like, okay, but that's very ugly branding. Or why are you spending so much time going to salvage all these and then to repack them? So sometimes people don't really understand, and there has been times where friends and families are just like question mark, like what are you doing with your life? Why are you trying to save the earth? You cannot do that much as a person. But I mean, I guess you just gotta take all their comments with a pinch of salt, as long as you believe what you really want to do. For me, I have heard of other people who say like they see the large amount of plastic bag being used in supermarket, and then they just like, they feel like all their efforts have gone to waste, because there you are carrying your reusable bag and then everybody else is just using plastic bags. And then people are also affected by their friends and family, what they say. How I dealt with it, I mean, there was 3 ways lah, basically. First, I think that instead of feeling dejected, you actually should feel more motivated, in the sense that there's so much more work that needs to be done within Singapore to influence those around us. Instead of like giving up totally, I think you should like work harder towards it, because I think ultimately people will get influenced. And then the second one that I wanted to think about was mainly like just be patient, because change will definitely happen. Like for me personally, I started my own sustainable journey about 8 years ago, and like it was only last year that more people were aware of what like global warming was, or like climate change. And I guess I waited for 7 years. So it will happen. It's just how fast or slow. So ultimately, I think that people will be more conscious about how they're living, but it's just how fast and slow the change is. And the last thing, it's never to underestimate like your power as a person to make change. So there's 2 kinds. One that I mentioned earlier, it's your power to support ethical or unethical businesses. And I think the other one is actually the power of influence. So for example, personally, like I have friends who told me, oh, you know, I didn't take a plastic bag today because I remember what you do, and then I think like, what will you tell me if I took the plastic bag, stuff like that. So personally, I don't really like force people to like go green, that kind of stuff, but it's more of like influencing them, maybe subconsciously in a sense. So sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't take a straw today because I remember like you say, you know, the straws are bad and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's all this like power of influence and power of change that are bound to happen. So it can start with your close friends, or it can start within your family. And then I think that's when people start adapting all these habits and they realize, oh, actually it's not that difficult at all. Then that's where like bigger change starts to come about. Yeah, so those are the 3. Yeah. Thank you.